there are people on this planet that have a particular finesse, some sort of energy, a look, a feeling. There's something different about them, whether it's in the words that they speak or that look in their eyes. You can feel that there's something peculiar, something powerful. Yet these individuals are often so subtle. Why is that? Many of them have chosen to not reveal the full extent of their powers.
Like my style? Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos.
It might not be easy to tell right away because circumstances may dictate why we do certain things, but personality is a big one, you know? Naturally shy people perhaps are less likely to showcase, the extent of what they're capable of, and would elect to kind of stay in the shadows. But there's other factors, and it's so perfect, the metaphor of light, fire, spark. What happens when moths see something bright? They hover around it. It's like they want to consume it. And I think these types of individuals are similar, they get fed on and consumed and cannibalized in some sense. Not necessarily out of hunger, but perhaps in more of a social type way, or even an existential one. So I think humans have the capacity to be that light, each one of us. But some would rather stay a moth. They'd rather stay a part of the consumers, the users, the devourers, And so they use this light to their advantage to feel perhaps more warm, to feel seen. While they bathe in the light, others are able to see them. They can snuff it out if they choose to, at their own interest. Some do. Some watch from a distance, observing. So it's hard to be a light. You have a lot of eyes on you, a lot of attention. And I think for that reason, many have decided to operate on a little bit lower of a frequency. That is why we decided to hold ourselves back so long ago. Because the pressure, the sense of responsibility and obligation to illuminate the farthest depths and the darkest souls is heavy. You attract a lot of bad entities as well. Envy, even misfortune. takes a lot of strength. And if you're one among a sea of less than favorable individualities, it can get very lonely. So there's no doubt that many have chosen to be a bit less bright, to stand out less, to fit in more, and to use their talents sparingly, to not cause too much attention, to not draw in more moths. The moths aren't evil. The light perhaps isn't even good. But there is a level of symbiosis. Everybody needs to feel available in some way, to feel accessible. So being seen is necessary to an extent. And in that way, being a light is useful, and it helps you to illuminate your own path. You will be asked and tasked with many other outcomes to lead, to navigate, to direct. That's what light does. It moves through the farthest spaces, through the deepest cracks. And eventually it comes back. Maybe not as strong as before, but it always manages to return in some capacity. So people that are made known of their inner light do have a choice. They have a decision that is inherent to being somebody that is awoken in some way, I guess. Someone that is bright and in many ways actually bright, not just smart, but metaphorically speaking. They have that knowledge, that awareness, and once they are made known of that, it is up to them to choose where they will go and what they will illuminate and how much will they engulf with their light. How much will they be engulfed? If you are a person that feels intimidated by that relationship between you and the world, you can always remember that most of those conflicts do take place in our heads. And if we can free ourselves a little bit from the social pressure and the psychological stress of trying to be everything, then we will feel lighter and we will be more available. We will have increasingly high energy. We will have more resolve we will feel better because we are more grounded. And it's important for us to feel that way so that we don't float off into space, never to return again. We need something that, allows us to jump to the next platform, to the next person, to the next idea, whether it's in the world or outside or inside as well. So as we sift through all of those topics and, we recognize the inner, power that's in ourselves, it's coming full circle, and we come back to the why. And it's a tricky one. Why does light do what it does? And it's hard to say. Maybe it's an instinct, maybe it's a natural push to go, to move, to do, to reach. It's possible that there's nothing else that it could do. It's waiting to burst out, to explode in all directions. So you can contain it. You can control it to an extent. But it's not meant to be caged. And just like light, these people that I refer to are not meant to be trapped by a world that is not available. When you speak and you get nothing in return, when you express but there's no one to appreciate, sometimes it hurts. And you feel at times like it's better to not share than to be left with the ones that don't care, the ones that could go 5 seconds, listening to you pour out your heart and would expect you to do the same 100 times over. It's odd. And you have enough of those experiences and you start to think maybe it doesn't make sense to reveal yourself to this world. If the world isn't able to understand or doesn't care to understand, then why would we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to put everything out there just for it to get slapped or swatted away? I don't know. It's certainly tough to navigate, and to feel that you are acknowledged is something that sometimes only other lights can do. Sure, moths can signal and can contact that your light is precious to them, but it's never really in a way of communication that feels familiar to you, but it's their language. And so you learn to speak that because it makes sense to them, and they don't set foot near yours because it's foreign or it feels intimidating to some level, and you are left to be both the light and the bridge in those cases, to bring safe passage, to connect the parties. So whether you learned that lesson from a child or growing up, it doesn't get any easier to be a visionary, someone that looks ahead to the future with ambition and hope, while so many others would stay in the past and look backwards. It's really tough. And there's no manual, there's no guide of how to be that person, how to accomplish that. Because there probably isn't even one right way. There's many. But even to feel mildly successful as a light, as somebody that's trying to, form bonds and strengthen the world, even having a glimmer of what feels like success can mean the world when that feels so little, so infrequent. The work that we do, that you do, is important. Everybody's work is important. It's inherently a part of the human experience, what brings us all together. Synecdoche, part of a whole, But the passion that you bring, it's unmatched. And you have to, of course, decide where in the world that should be put. Is it worth it to put it into those spaces that don't see it? Is it justified to give it to those that would sneer? I don't know. But surely it is a massive undertaking to carry such power and responsibility. Find a way to feel at peace, to feel free, even in the box. Find a new box. Find the next box. But keep moving and keep exploring, keep creating, designing, growing. It's all part of the experience. Allow those powers and abilities to shine in whichever way you see fit. If you would decide to wait, then don't be surprised when your soul feels the repercussions of those choices and it feels full and ready to, be let out. It's voracious, ravenous. So it's a good conversation. It's interesting, It's exploring these different motivations and ideas that flow through a lot of us that we really can't help but ponder about. Especially in this world that is highly unavailable. So if you resonate with this message and like what I have to say, then consider subscribing. Check out my future videos. And like always, until the next one, take care and peace.